You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hey folks, Voss here from the Chris Voss Show.com. Ladies and gentlemen, our latest thing that makes official. Welcome to the show. 16 years, 2,700 episodes, 2,600 episodes. We're doing the Chris Voss Show. We'll probably be at 27 in the next couple months. And we bring you the most amazing minds. But we need you to do one thing for us. Refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Go to Facebook.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTokity, and all those places on the internet.
Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind.
Today we have an amazing young man on the show. We're going to be talking about several of his books, some of his insights, and some of the things he's learned over the years, and he's going to help us with it. He is the author of the book that came out November 12th, 2013. It's called The Dialectic of Economic Deployment: How the Logic of Self-Interest Impedes Progress. John Manga joins us on the show. We're going to get into it with him and talk about his experiences, his life, et cetera, et cetera. Welcome to the show, John. How are you?
Thank you very much. I am doing well.
And good to be well, right?
Yeah.
So give us your .coms or any place on the internet, social media, wherever you want people to maybe find out more about you.
I am not very much present in the social media.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what to say about that.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, people can at least buy your book online at Amazon. So give us a 30,000 overview of what's inside your book.
I beg your pardon?
Give me a 30,000 overview of what your book is about.
Okay. My book is about the reasons I think the third world country are not developing as fast as they ought to, because their own development has started after the other countries have been developed. So they could have just transferred the knowledge and the technology, and they would have grown at a faster rate. So why are they not growing at a faster rate? Why are they? Some of them are not even growing. What is holding that back? And I finally conclude that there must be something to it from on the part of the developed countries. There must be something. I'm not saying they are the ones to blame for everything that is going wrong in the underdeveloped countries, but I suspect that they should know something about it. And that's. I even went on to suggest some reasons why they would be behind such a scheme.
Yeah. And well, I mean, there's kind of been a history of developed countries taking advantage of underdeveloped or third world countries that are trying to come up, and they steal resources from them and sometimes invade them, enslave the people. There's a lot of that that's gone on, especially in Africa. You have something you refer to as the core argument, the refreshing perspective. Tell us about what that is.
One thing, the main argument in the book is the pursuit of self-interest. I'm holding self-interest as the main motive, the main reason why development cannot go faster than it ought to. Logically, it ought to be faster. I've already said that. But they can't have it because their interests to project and defend from those who are already developed. Yeah, they have to. It's a matter of uh, um, resisting, avoiding to go down once you are up there. It comes from the survival instinct. Yeah, because let me give you an example, simple one. There is a Chinese saying. They used to say it some time ago. I don't hear it said very often now, but it goes thus: if you want to help somebody, teach them how to fish, rather than feed them with fish. Okay, I come from a state here in the United States where fishing is one of the three top industries. The other two are mining and tourism. Go and ask those fishermen who go and catch fish and come and distribute it to the rest of the world, if you want. Whether they want to have people going to the sea to fetch their own fish. Because if that were to happen, the fishermen will be out of business.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
for the interest of the fishermen, they will fight tooth and nail to prevent anybody from coming to catch, from learning how to catch fish by themselves. So that's a very simple example. Yeah,
And so,
and we can all verify. There are so many situations like that where you want to help, but you are afraid that if you help, you would lose something. So you would rather keep what you have, because if the third world were to develop, they will present a threat to the well-being of the already developed countries. Yes, go ahead.
do you find that there's kind of a mentality or strategy around this in country building? There's what's called the scarcity mindset, where you think of resources or options in business or life as scarce, and so you try and collect as much as you can and hold on to it and don't share with others.
Yes.
Then there's a abundance mindset. And in the abundance mindset, that's where people share, because they believe that resources are not just infinite, but there's plentiful of resources. And so would you maybe say that those are some of the issues at hand you talk about in your book?
No, it goes far beyond that. See, I don't know whether you saw a short video I sent yesterday with my message. It was a lecturer in some kind of class setting who was teaching to his students. He was telling them, you see, the African continent is meant to remain a source of raw materials. That is in the greater scheme of things. I understand that. I knew that 30 years ago. I happen to have started my research since then. I knew that, but I never knew that it would be a conspiracy. I thought it was just because of the force. I come back to it again. The force of the argument of self-interest. I thought that was just, but more and more I can see that there might be a conspiracy behind those whose countries are already developed, wanted to stay that way for two reasons. I have those two reasons in the book. One of the reasons, the first reason is that they want to maintain the underdeveloped countries as a source of raw material. And the other reason is that they want to have a captive market for finished goods.
Mhm.
So, if you allowed South Africa, for instance, to produce all the things that are produced in the West, which they are not producing now, you are setting them up to compete with you.
Mhm.
Do you see that? Today, today we are at loggerheads with, by we I mean the United States and the West are
Mhm.
at loggerheads with China. It wasn't like this 30 to 40 years ago. They were an underdeveloped countries. Now, because of the technology that has poured into that country, they have managed to develop to the point where they are challenging the United States for the first place in the world economy.
Mhm.
Do you want, sincerely, do you want other Chinas to mushroom all over the world?
Not really, no.
The answer is definitely no.
Nope.
Because if that happens, the presently developed countries will feel threatened, and it will hurt their interests.
Mhm.
So their primary mission is to defend and promote their interests. They do it in all sorts of ways. I have enumerated some of those ways in the book.
There we go. There we go. You talk about these concepts in the book. Would you say that this is kind of the issue we're having lately with like billionaires and the ultra rich? They don't want their taxes raised. They don't want to contribute more to society. They just want to raise their bar up on, as far as they can on the Forbes 500 list. What do you say to that?
No, I didn't consider that at all. I didn't
Hmm.
consider internal politics of any one country.
Okay.
I use you could use that to say that too. I can give you an example which is not in the book. If everybody in the United States became rich, just imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody will be ready to work for another person.
Mm.
So some people who are rich but cannot do their own chores, for instance, let me take the simplest thing,
Mm-hmm.
will suffer in spite of their wealth because wherever they turn, all their neighbors are rich, so they don't want to come and do chores for him. So you see, even in the rich society, they need some people to be in a position that they will be forced to work for others.
Hmm.
Uh,
Isn't there? I mean, is it possible? What sort of economy or what sort of driver we have to make it so that no one work for anyone else if we all became rich? Like, how would that be possible? Maybe AI or
well,
something? I don't know.
most most people are working because they want to earn a living. So if you take that motive away, if they all already have the means of of living,
Hmm.
why should they be going to work for somebody else?
That's true. That's true. So you talk about this in your book as you lay it out, and there's several other things here. You talk about you can't find a solution until we diagnose accurately the problem.
Mhm.
Is do you think you have the example, or do you think you have a way to make that work that you've been able to identify and diagnosing it the problem, or is the book mainly just suggestions for stuff?
I have one important suggestion at the end of the book, but that is certainly not that was certainly not the purpose of the book. The purpose of the book was to come up with the problem, to pinpoint the problem.
Hmm.
This is the problem. This is why these people remain poor. Is because if they became rich, we who are already rich will feel threatened. We will be threatened, not just feel.
Hmm.
We will be threatened. So, as for a solution, as I said at the end, I suggest that Oh, well, before I get to that, so far, the impression we've had in the world, whether in the rich countries or in the poor countries, is that the rich countries are doing everything to help the poor countries develop. That's the impression.
Hmm.
But for the reason I gave you earlier with the story with the wise saying from China, the rich countries cannot. It's not that they hate the poor countries.
Hmm.
It's just that they love themselves more than they love the poor countries. So they will not jeopardize their security uh, because they want to help the poor countries.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's not going to happen for that reason. And development in the poor countries will not really take off until the rich countries are convinced that it will not threaten their well-being.
That's too bad. Because
Yeah.
a rising tide lifts all boats. That's the mentality
Uh,
of abundance. A rising tide lifts all boats. That's the mindset
yes.
of abundance. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now you talk in your book about examples of how we can use this dialectic theory in action.
Mhm.
International trade agreements, foreign debt structures, foreign aid. Tell us some of the ways this has been used successfully that you cite in your book. As examples.
Successfully, it depends on what you mean by success. Is it foreign aid, unless it's actually a dire situation like there's famine or natural disaster, and they are bringing in shiploads of food
Mm-hmm.
to come and help the people. But that is only a temporary solution to the problem.
Mm.
The real problem requires more than that. It needs providing something that will be permanent. One African leader said, he is now dead. He said, we encourage it, but we encourage it that helps us to stop receiving aid.
Teach a
Uh,
man to fish.
yes. He said we want aid that will help us in the end. We will stop needing it. That's it. So, but nobody is willing to give you that.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is willing to give you that. And as I said, until the North, until the developed countries are convinced that the development that's coming in the underdeveloped countries will not threaten their privileged positions,
Mm-hmm.
they will not help them to develop.
That's unfortunate, isn't it?
Yes. And that is a very difficult one. And as I say, it's not out of hatred for the third world, it's out of love for oneself. That is, the rich person wants to remain, is some kind of response to survival instinct. Yeah, because you are afraid that of what might come. China is showing us that. They're showing.
Yeah.
There's an example in the book which I listened to, which I got from PBS television station, News Hour during their news programs. There was a Chinese official who was, this was like 10 years ago, or no, earlier than about 15 years ago. This Chinese official was discussing, mining official was talking about rare earth minerals, and he was suggesting that very soon China was going to stop exporting rare minerals because they need those rare minerals for themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, so why did they not need them 20 years ago and they need them now?
Mm.
That is as a result of of the development they have achieved.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. Today, China refines more than 90% of rare earth minerals refined in China.
Mm-hmm.
And so, first of all, they are not sending the raw minerals out.
Mm-hmm.
And even the refined one, they are keeping it for their industry.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the kind of situation we are going. The developed countries are going to encounter if that trend continues in other countries.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there will be scarcity for certain things here because those countries, if they start manufacturing their own airplanes, they will not have to buy Boeing or Airbus anymore. They
Mm.
will start using their own airplanes. So, and in order for them to manufacture their own airplanes, they will use their raw materials, like China is doing now with rare earth minerals. So the presently developed countries will not have access to the raw materials anymore.
Yeah.
So those poor countries, today's poor countries, will not be a source of raw materials for the rich country because they are
Mm.
able to they are able to transform those minerals themselves. And then secondly, I've already mentioned it, when they are manufacturing their own the goods they need for their
Mm-hmm.
society, the markets which the developed countries have been supplying to will dry up.
Mm.
So, is that in the interest of the developed countries? My answer is definitely no. That doesn't go along with their interest.
Mm.
It goes against their interest because their interest is to keep that market for raw materials open, and that captive market for finished goods open.
Ah. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that'll do it. That'll
Huh?
do it. And are there any good examples you've seen of dialectic in action that has been good at lifting up other countries? Have you seen any of that going
Uh,
on?
China. China is a good example.
Mm-hmm.
They sent them all over the world. There was technology going into China.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, China would consider that good. Yeah, many people would consider that good. But but it happened. Let me tell you why it happened. Interest. There are two types of interest. There is short-term interest and long-term interest.
Mm-hmm.
The West, who supplied technology to China, were responding to short-term interest. They flooded China. China opened their gates. Said, bring in all the technology we have. We are ready to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, today, China is very selective with the technology it imports.
Yep.
You should be surprised. Somebody should be surprised to say, but 30 years ago, they wanted everything, but now, because they have acquired so much that they are developing their own technology.
Yeah.
While sending them technology, that was a good part. They welcomed it. It was good for them. But the long-term result is that it wasn't good for those countries who send their technology to China. But they sent them because there was short-term gains to make, and they
Mm-hmm.
were happy with those gains.
Yeah. What do you hope people come away with when they read your book? What do you hope they learn?
Well, I am drawing their attention to the problem, to the real, what I think the real reason
Mm-hmm.
why their countries are not moving ahead as they ought to. It's up to them. It gives them a chance to rethink the negotiations they make with rich countries for transfer of technology. They should rethink it, whether they should get into it or not. See, by the time the third world, many of the third world countries got their independence in the 60s, especially those that were French, former French, that were still French colonies. France, under General de Gaulle, made them agreements they called the Accord de Coopération. They signed those agreements that France will have first choice when it comes to where to sell their natural resources. France, unless France doesn't want a particular mineral resource, then can those countries sell those resources to any other buyer. The consequence of that is very, very grave. Let me give you the example of Niger. Niger has uranium. Almost all electric energy in France is produced through the use of uranium. Okay, that shows you how important the mineral is. Okay, because of that arrangement that France has choice of place, first place, they are buying the uranium from Niger at $4 per kilo. Whereas the going market price is $120 per kilo. Can you imagine that if Niger had all the money it ought to have from its uranium, it would have probably diversified, but it couldn't even have diversified its economy because France is right at the center of it. Another clause, another contract, says that in the choice of any enterprise for a public project in Niger or in any other African country, former French colony, has to be France. You see, so before any other person can buy something, before anybody can take a contract to build a bridge or whatever, unless French companies say no, we don't want to build that bridge, then somebody else, then China can come in or another country. So that's it. And the consequences of that, I'll give you the consequences of that. There was a bridge built in Cameroon on the river Vuri. The government called for offers for what do they call that? Tender. Okay, several countries sent in their offers of how much they would take to build that bridge. The highest was a French company called Satom. The lowest of them all was a Chinese company. Okay, instead of the government allowing the Chinese to build the bridge for them, they gave the contract to the highest, that is Satom, a French company, in keeping with the agreement they signed more than 60 years ago. Okay, so what did the French company do? They turned around and subcontracted that project to the Chinese, who had the lowest bid. So the Chinese built the bridge, and then The French collected the money because the Chinese were subcontractors, and then they turned around and paid the Chinese what they had offered, which means they went away with with all the money, more than half of the cost of the bridge that they claim, without any work.
Hmm.
Cameroon, the government of Cameroon could have had that bridge built at a very, very low price,
Hmm.
but their hands are tied. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
Yeah, there are very, very many of those things like that. Not only in Cameroon, I've given you the example of Cameroon, but I've given
Mhm.
also the example of Niger. It happens like that to Guinea, Senegal, Mali. Yes, that's it. So all those things are meant to keep those countries where they are.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know how they are going to get out of there, but I think it's going to be difficult.
Definitely. It's they need to. We need to look at other countries as a way to lift them up, as a way instead of a way to exploit them and utilize them for stuff. Because, like you say, China and Russia have gone all around Africa and
Yes.
South America,
Yes.
and they've locked down natural resources and stuff. Is there a way that countries can fight back? Is there a way that they can keep themselves from being exploited?
So far, only three countries have come up to say no, enough is enough. We don't want it again. And those three countries are Guinea, no, not Guinea, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. They have gone ahead to form a federation. You call it even a confederation. They
Hmm.
want to stay as one country now and be doing their own things. They have created their own money,
Hmm.
whereas the other ex-colonies are still using the franc,
Hmm.
whereas France itself has abandoned the franc and has joined the euro. But those countries are still using the French franc.
Hmm.
So legally, I don't know how they can do it. It goes back to the the concessions they made at the time of independence, because
Hmm.
I have read a letter, or at least part of a letter of the French Prime Minister at the time. He was talking to the future president of Gabon, Leomba.
Hmm.
He said they had already sent those contracts to that country for their leader to sign, and the leader was hesitating. And the French Prime Minister, Michel Debré, said in a letter to the future president of Gabon, he said, those two things go together. That is, you sign the accord de coopération,
Hmm.
and we grant you independence. Which means if Gabon refused to sign those cooperation agreement, which was hollowing out their sovereignty,
Hmm.
uh, then they would not just give them the independence. So they would remain a French colony.
Hmm. Forever.
Practically, that's what Debré was saying in his letter to the future president of Gabon. So all of them signed, all of them. They were anxious to become independent countries. So they were quick to sign those documents. And those documents are still binding. Those accords,
Hmm.
which they said are still binding on them today.
Wow. Well, that definitely has an effect. I'd imagine corruption's a big thing in Africa too, with big governments,
Yes,
developed countries taking advantage of third world countries through
yes,
bribery, extortion,
yeah.
you know, um,
I
political
know that.
corruption.
I know that very much. And even though the United States has taken steps to discourage that
Hmm.
by passing an act in Congress called the Foreign Official Corruption Act.
Hmm.
If an American business goes and corrupts some government official in Africa, and it is found that the organizations, people who have done that will be punished here. But the corruption is still going on. It's still going on at a very, very high scale. The latest organization to fall victim of that law here in the United States is Glencore. Glencore is a company that was founded in Switzerland, but I think the headquarters is now in London. They trade in natural resources. So they go from country to country and buy those resources at a very low price, like 70% discount, because they go and corrupt the officials in those countries. So you are right. Corruption plays a very important part. But corruption, in my opinion, I don't talk very much about it in the book. I talk very little. Corruption is a manifestation of self-interest, both for the corruptor and the corrupted.
Definitely. Well, that'll do it. Well, it's definitely something where we need to think in more of abundance terms. A rising tide lifts all boats, and we need to lift everybody up. I mean, at one point before AIDS, Africa was set to be probably one of the greatest emerging developed countries in the world, because they had so much population and they were such a bed of amazing resources, especially for the future, like metals and different things like that we need in all this computers, technology, batteries. And they were set, and AIDS really did a massive destruction to Africa, wiping out, I think it was 25% of the population.
Yeah, and I agree. But there are rumors and speculation that Africans were intentionally infected just for the same reason as I have given you, to make sure they stay down there. I don't have any proof of that, but I've heard people say that.
It's definitely since then we've been taking advantage of them, because I'm familiar with how China has moved through a lot of those places. Some of those places in Africa, they've leveraged airports and docks, big ports, to Chinese loans. And when they default on them, which they tend to do because they're over leveraged, and and they make these these high risk high interest probably loans to these poor people, and so they've literally seized their airports, their ports, their docks. And so now they control just about everything going in and out of the country. It's kind of interesting. It's a roundabout coup, if you will.
Yes, but you see, that is another strategy meant to produce the same effect of subduing those countries. They will remain where they are. The Chinese, the masters have just changed. But the intent of the new master is just the same as the intent of the previous master. That is to keep them where they are.
Yep.
They don't let them move, because China just goes to Africa and then they will promise to build this and build that, and those countries are repeated for not reading the fine lines of those contracts.
Yeah. Or sometimes they get paid off in greed. I'm pretty sure
that's it. That's
a big thing.
Another thing that happens, because the person who is appointed to sign those things doesn't care about what happens afterwards. After all, he might no longer be there. So he just takes his bribe and he signs those documents, and so they give away the future of those countries. They give them away through corruption. So I just consider corruption another manifestation and another channel of self-interest. Because China is doing it with their interests in mind. When they are doing that, it's not for nothing. And the person who is taking the bribe is taking it because he is promoting his own personal self-interest. Yeah. So again, is self-interest that is the motivating force around much of that.
Well, definitely something to think about. Thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, and now we can understand some of the things that are going on in our world. Thank you, John.
You're welcome. It was nice talking to you.
It was wonderful to talk to you as well, and we definitely need to think from a mindset of abundance. When we used to do that, this world used to grow quite rapidly, and so did America and other countries by lifting the boats of democracy and capitalism. Yeah. There should be bridled. There shouldn't be unbridled capitalism, but that's another story. But thank you very much for coming on the show. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Let me leave you with one thing.
Okay.
Talking about abundance. I think it was President Truman who said during his inauguration, he said something, and the point 4 of the things he lined up to do, the projects he wanted to do, was to help the poor countries by providing them technology that would have helped them to produce that abundance which you are talking about now. But the action didn't go beyond that inaugural speech. It didn't do much. The question I asked myself when I read that was, why? Why since then? Why have the poor countries not achieved that abundance? The answer is easy. The technology that would have helped them to grow and become abundant in many things is not owned by the American government. It's owned by American companies. And the American companies don't do things out of generosity.
Yeah. Yep. That's
true. They don't do things out of generosity. So they will not give away their technology for free or almost free because they live. That's why you have property rights in everything. You write a small poem, you go and register it, you have your property right. You invent something, you have your property right because you want to control it. You want to be the one to use it.
Yep.
The government doesn't produce all those things. So,
well, thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, John. Thanks to us for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time. And that should have us out, John. There'll be a picture of your book in the middle.